All right, guys, so we're going to talk about something that we haven't talked about in school before. So we're going to talk about cells. So does anyone know what cells are? Does anyone have a picture of what cells might look like? What are made of them? Anyone want to give me any kind of help on that? Okay. All right, so turns out all living organisms are made of cells, okay? We didn't learn about that for quite a long time. So you know how we talked about microscopes, and we were looking at microscopes, how they work. Turns out we use microscopes to observe cells. These cells were first observed in about 1650 by some guy named Robert Hooke. All right, so he looked through this microscope into a wood cork. Turns out there's a bunch of square boxes in that wood cork through the lens of the microscope. He's like, that's kind of weird. They look like rooms. So we called them cellula. I think he's German or something like that. So we turned it into cells for us in English. So, if those things are made of cells, do you think humans are made of cells? Wood cork humans? Turns out we are, because everything that's living is made of cells. What happens in cells? Cells are actually where all of the interaction between us and the ecosystem or the environment we're living in take place. Nutrient exchange, any biological processes, all that stuff. So we're made of cells. How many cells do you think we're made of? Turns out it's a lot. 30 trillion cells on average for the human body. So if we're made of 30 trillion cells, it kind of gives you an idea how big we are. So I brought a couple things. I got a pen. Tip of this pen, you can take that. Turns out it's about 1 millimeter. Okay? You can see that pretty easy today. In this bag, there's a couple of grains of salt. So go ahead and take a look at that. That salt is 0.3 millimeters. Still easy to see that, right? When do microscopes come in handy? Turns out, at 0.1 millimeters, that's the edge of what we can and can't see. Okay, so 0.1 millimeters, that's tiny, tiny, tiny. What about cells? Let's take blood cells, for example. Blood cells are 0.005 millimeters. So no chance we can see that. But if you can't see it, does that mean it's not there? No. You just need to use something to see it. So then are all cells the same size? Not quite. Bacteria cells, 0.008 on average. Okay? So cells actually are different sizes. Pretty cool. So, we're going to talk about cells. Specifically, plant and animal cells. We'll talk about the animal cell first. So let's call this a cell. Outside of the cell wall. That is where all the nutrients that are outside the cell and inside the cell are separated. All right? Cell wall is in charge of exchanging these nutrients with the environment and the cell. Okay? Who's guiding that? Turns out it's the nucleus. The nucleus, kind of the brains of the organization. It tells the cell what to do, how to do it, what shape it wants it to be in, what process, when to grow, when to live, when to die. The nucleus will actually kill itself. It's called apoptosis. I thought that was pretty neat. So, we got the wall, we got the brain. What about the muscle? Mitochondria. I guess I gotta write that down. Mitochondria takes all of the stuff inside of the cell and converts it from an inactive form to an active form of energy. It fuels the cell. All right? Without that, the cell won't be able to do any cellular work. If we have too much stuff in the cell, but it's useful for later, we store them. So, where the cell stores things are in vacuoles. Okay? And then the last part of the cell is kind of whatever's left in between, okay? So this is the cell plasma. This is where floating nutrients, water, some of the stuff that isn't of excess can be found in the cell. So that is an animal cell. Maybe I'll do this for you. Let's look at the plant. So the plant cell is what Robert Hooke found in his wood cork. Okay, so you'll notice right off the bat, it's a rigid structure, somewhat square. You can see how you might have saw that looked like a bit of a room. Okay, so what makes it square? Turns out this rigidity, this firm exterior feature, comes from the cell membrane. This is just for extra support, helps the plant stay rigid, stay upright, so it can sustain itself. Cell membrane's on the inside, or cell wall, sorry. So that cell wall does the exact same function as the cell in the animal. Okay, so it's in charge of nutrient exchange. It too has the brains of the organization, nucleus. It's informing all the cellular process, photosynthesis, growth, death, all of that kind of stuff, same as in the cell. It also has a vacuole. In the vacuole, though, it's just one big one. So if you notice, pretty big vacuole in the plant, one. Several vacuoles in the animal, okay? So that's, if you see a cell with a big vacuole, that's a clue it should probably be a plant cell. Mitochondria. Those are still there. Same function, converting the cellular material into energy so that the cell can grow and do all of its cellular work. It also has these things called photoreceptors. So we've learned about photosynthesis before, all right? So that's where the cell takes in sunlight, converts it to energy, all right? These photoreceptors, that's what makes the cell green, and that's where photosynthesis happens, okay? And so that's about it for those two, all right? So let's keep that in mind. Here comes a bad joke, all right? So it turns out all cells aren't the same. They're not the same size, they're not the same shape. So I'm just showing you a general, basic cells, okay? They're the pumpkin spice lattes of cells, all right? So going forward, we're gonna look at how these cells change. What do they look like in muscle tissue? What do they look like in brain tissue? What about nervous tissue? That kind of stuff, all right? So that's where we're gonna be heading next, all right? So let's just keep that in mind. That's all I got for you.